Welcome back to the Product Podcast, man. We're your hosts. My name's Rob with my brother Keon, man. We want to tap in again with another one. So, man, hey, we're going to talk about the
first episode.
Let's get it.
Let's
the first episode.
Well, we're gonna talk about the first episode briefly. Man, we got a lot of good feedback.
Man,
on the first episode. It was a lot of encouragement.
Yeah.
Obviously, man, we got a vision around the podcast that we want to see come to fruition.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And so, man, continue to comment and subscribe and follow our socials.
Definitely.
But yeah, bro, it was a much better turnout than what I think we initially thought.
Man, what I expected, man. I thought hey, it's so crazy, man. We did our podcast, how we put it out there like an MP. It was an MP podcast piece, so we just
I think it's an EP.
EP. Oh damn.
Is it EP?
No, it is EP. I'm tripping.
It is. It might be
EP.
EP.
Yeah, we did an EP.
We don't know.
We're trying to figure it out. Hey, we did an EP, but
essentially 5 days.
5 days
of hey, we're gonna push this out.
Yeah.
We're gonna create it, and then even for us to even have 200 and something views.
Yeah.
That's good to me.
That's good. That's good. Just to start off, man. Just how we put it out there. That was, it was dope. That was dope, man.
So today's episode is called The Credentials.
The Credentials.
And this is where we're going to talk about just what qualifies us to even talk about these things, talk about life, talk about the hardship that we share. Not just us, but you and I,
and we got to talk
us. So, some folks believe that bro, we need a degree or a piece of paper to actually qualify us to do this work, or even talk about these things. And so, what we're stepping into is we want to be able to share with you guys the credentials that we were already stamped and given before. There was a college thought process or whatever. So, man. Let's not waste too much time.
Hey, let's not waste no time, man. Hey, the credentials, man. Really talking about our journey, man.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely, man. I love to share my story because, man, it connects to the next, man. So it connects to our people, you guys. So man, just get going on how we started, man. I grew up here in Cincinnati. Born and raised Bengals fan, but I grew up, man.
I'm going to add a boo button to this, bro.
That's crazy, you from.
I'm going to add that in there.
Boy, that's wild.
Next week, boo button coming.
Boo button. But I was a chameleon around here, man. I moved a lot, man. I moved around a lot, man. Be vulnerable, man. I went to over 13 middle schools, man.
That's wild.
That's wild, man.
That is wild.
I lived a lot of places, man. I grew up in different neighborhoods, man. So, I know a few people, and I just could from moving around a lot, man. I got to see in different neighborhoods how everybody was dealing with the similar things, man. Especially coming from some hardship, man. Coming from the crack epidemic, man. Back then, man, it was man. It was rough. Moved around a lot, man. Went to a lot of schools, man. So in that time, man, I felt life wasn't going right, man.
Right.
It was a part of time in my life where it wasn't going right, man. Just a lot of instability, man. So living in shelters, man. I did that, man. I remember me and my pops, man, my brother, man. We was in the shelter, but we was in that mug together, man. I remember them times where we went through that, man, and trying to find stability, find hope, man. Through those times, man, it was tough.
So let me ask you this, which this is gonna happen, y'all. So I don't want nobody to think that that's crazy. He interrupting the story.
Nah.
We want to be able to create barriers and maybe some guidance around this topic because it can. I mean, we could really talk. All day.
I could talk about some. Man, I can go.
And so, one of the questions that I got for you is, through all the moving, 13 middle schools is wild.
It's wild, bro.
What impact,
man,
does that have on you, and not even just you, but but like everybody else that you connected to?
Man, I just felt like I never had nothing solid. Like, I knew like, man, I ain't gonna be here. I know like, man, I sit in the class, it'll be like a cloud, everybody going and got their stuff going, like, but I knew like, man, I ain't gonna be here long. Like,
so you never get settled?
I never got settled, man, but and it's to the point I never got settled, to the point I never really got like had no, until I got into like high school, had a real relationship with my teachers because I moved around so much, man. So that within itself, man, was like tough. Like, so coming into the classrooms, coming into them different spaces, man, having to teach myself how to, you know, to read, write, and do those things because I moved around so much, man. So like, yeah, it was tough though, but hey, that journey, man, as I look back now, man, I'm like, damn, like it made me who I am today. So I never take it back. But that was a rough space moving around. So like the work we in now, I see a lot of kids moving around and you know, feel like they not connected and don't, you know, that could do something to you, man, especially mentally when you feel like you don't have no recharge place, man. Yeah, so that was tough, man, especially trying to like get through school. Like, man, like it's to the point I could never play a sport for real. I started really playing sports until like
hey, look,
the
say you play for the Sharks.
Grade. Like for
next game you play for the Dolphins.
Bro, I ain't really get
crazy.
into like I was always a sports kid, but we really didn't get into it, man, until like me playing on a real team.
Yeah.
Like 7th to 8th grade, like basketball, but I played little league football like for like a couple years, but we just was moving a lot though.
Right.
So it ain't that my parents and them went. It was just like, man, we went through some shit though.
Right.
Like,
So from let's jump to where you found stability.
hey,
What was the moment in your life where you knew like, all right, cool, we ain't moving. This is where we staying.
I think.
And where did y'all stay at?
My sister, man, I gotta talk about my sister. My sister, man, you know how we had an inspiring moment.
Yeah.
I talked about my dad, but my sister, man, she was young, and you know, my parents they hit a rocky spot in life, man. So you know, we was jumping around. So it came to a point in time where the place where we was at, like it wasn't sustainable for us, like, man, and we had to move. And I got out of school one day, man, coming home, man, where I was at, they was like, man, like we can't really do too much for y'all right now. So either it's go to like foster care or, so I called my sister, like called her, man. She was like, what? Man, my sister, she was 20 at this time, man. She just trying to get her stuff together. She was young. And she already had 2 boys.
Right.
So called my sister, man. She came with my guy, RP to my guy, Jibo. She came with him, man, and they picked us up. And the place where she was at, they was like, man, y'all can't just take him. My sister said, man, hey, I'm taking my brothers. Y'all gonna either call the police or whatever, but I'm taking my brother. So, but my sister, man, she did that, man, and she did everything she could to make sure that we stayed on a narrow road, and I respect her for that. And it was hard. So we all lived together, man. Bro, going to school, man, and like we try to do as much as possible not to bring too much on her. So we try to not to get in too much trouble, but we try to keep the parameters of like our home together for us, so we won't have to be back in no situation like that. But my sisters, they really came through for me and my brother.
Man, one of the, what's crazy is, and I'm gonna say this because I think I don't know, man. We run into this often. J-Rock and I met a year ago,
Man,
almost 2 years ago.
2 years ago, bro.
And started out, working in the same organization, whatever. We didn't know each other from I don't know what the phrase is. I botched the phrase, but a box of rocks,
we ain't know each other, bro.
Box of cereal, we ain't know each other at all. But there's so many, bruh, just similarities when we talk about just what we went through.
Just, man.
That is actually more common. That, like, if I go out there and I talk to somebody that live in the neighborhood that I live in, some way, in some sort of fashion, we gonna have something that we can relate on when it comes to like what drove, us to get better, or something that just kind of, man, it was the same barrier.
Yeah.
So, I can relate to, the 241 kids, and
that's why,
the 241 kids show up at the school one time, try to talk to me, or my mom wasn't around.
Bro.
But I was equipped.
Yeah.
We was always told, don't be talking to those folks.
Don't
talk to those folks.
And back then, they weren't trauma informed, man. They was not.
They know what that was.
Hey, boy. That was a rough time, man. But it's so crazy how you get the small blessings and the people be positioned in your life, man. Because like my sister and my sisters together, man, like came in, man, and took me and my brother in while they was still on their journey. They was young, trying to figure out their life, try to take teenage boys in, man, and try to like make a way for us. Why they trying to pave a way for themselves? Like, so, like living with them. My sister used to live in Huntington Meadows, and we lived in Fairmount. We lived on the west side, man. So just growing up out there, I grew up with like a couple of my guys out there, and just trying to find a way. We was just trying to find a way at this point, man. But I'm trying to see like how I can go into this more around. Like,
I can guide help you guide through that. But so you stay with your sister.
Yeah.
And I guess from there, how long did y'all live together? How long did you stay with her?
So I stayed with my sister for probably like 3 or 4 years. Okay. Stayed with my sister for 3 or 4 years, man. That time, man.
What grade and age were you at? So
that grade, I was probably from like 6th grade to like 8th grade.
Okay.
8th grade, 6th grade to 8th grade, 5th to 8th grade. Stayed with my sisters, and just after. And my dad was locked up, man. Like, but he was always a guy, man. But he just had his troubles. So stayed with my sisters and them, man. Just that's when like I didn't want my sisters to have too much of a burden with too much stuff, like trying to, pay for stuff for us. So man, we got to make a way. So man, I used to like hustle, do some things, man, to make ends meet. Me and my brother, man, and I always was a guy of principle still, though, man. I always didn't do things out of just like impulse, man. I always thought about consequences. I always thought about like what doing this can, have an effect on my life. And it was nothing like I was doing it to just have fun. I was really doing it to like, man, we gotta eat, or I want to have some clothes, or I want to make sure that my sister ain't gotta be, having to worry about spending or doing too much for us. Like, so like we position ourselves out here to like, man, make a way for ourselves. So did that for a while, man, and then do that journey, man. It's, just seeing a lot of things my friends and stuff was enduring. Like I seen some of my friends enduring where, their mom and dad was caught up on, some of the things, drugs out here, man. I seen my friends and them, man, had to live life early, take care of themselves, man. I seen some of my friends die out here to gun violence, man. I seen a lot of, people close to me, man, like lose themselves in this way of life. So I was always a person like, man, I don't want that. I don't want that for my child, man. Whenever I have a family, how can I position myself now to like, man, have a better life for my child or my family one day? So like I always thought like that, man. So living with my sisters and them, man, it was a blessing in disguise, man. That man, I won't take for granted. And then my dad was able to get out of his situation, get out of jail and stuff like that. And he started a cleaning business, man. And man, he picked us up. He came to my sister, man. Thanked my sister for, you know, stepping in. And got me and my brothers, and man, we moved to Roseline in this 1-bedroom apartment, man. Like, and we stayed there, man. My dad was like, bro, like, we ain't gonna stay here long.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I knew he went through his, and that's, man, my dad, I always talk highly like about my dad because even though he had his hardship in life, man, he knew he had to step up and he did whatever it took. So he came one day, man, got out of the jail. He told my sister, man, like, hey, I'm gonna come get him in 2 weeks. My sister's like, you gonna come? And she was like, what? She was like, man, I'm just gonna get my stuff. I appreciate what you did. My dad, man, like 2-3 weeks later, man, he got a crib. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. He was like, man, hey, we gonna be here for like a year. Just work with me. We was like, bet, Pops. So, man, he started working at this restaurant downtown, man, called Nicholson's, man. He became a chef. He was a line prep chef. And then he was a line prepper. Then he got the chef job and started making more money. And he was my family, man. My dad's side, man. They some clean freaks, man. Like they clean, spotless. That's what I get that like tedious cleaning from. But my dad started a cleaning business, and from working there, they gave him the cleaning contract and stuff like that. So from that space, he got us a house. So we moved out of there. Mm-hmm. So grew up we was out of Roseline getting into some things, man. Like, man, that whole story at that time, man, just my dad, seeing my dad struggle and stuff, trying to get his stuff together. Me and my brother still had that mindset of like, man, we gonna make sure we good. Like, so I'm hustling. Like, I know Pops, he's struggling. We in this 1-bedroom apartment, man. Mm-hmm. Like this tough. Like, and like, so we had to do what we had to do to make ends meet. But I started seeing my dad grow and elevate. I'm like, man, he really trying. Like, so he got this cleaning business. We working with him. I'm like, damn, he elevating. So he get us this house, man. I'm like, maybe I need to get out the streets and stop hustling. Right. Because my dad really trying, man. He really like stepped it all the way up, man. So I got an opportunity, man, to move out, man. And my last year of high school, I went out to an out-the-way school, man, and just got a different perspective of things. Like, man, like you don't have to be out the way to have an opportunity. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like, and I seen
that's a realization. That's a hard realization,
bro. You ain't got to be out the way to have opportunity. And I seen all these kids out there, man, grow up and like, because I graduated from Finneytown, man. Like, I seen a lot of kids out there, man. Like, didn't have to go through what I went through when I was a kid, mm-hmm. man. They grew up with a lot of opportunities. I'm like, damn. like what?
They be over there perplexed.
So that made me like, nah, I had to tap in, man. So like I graduated, man. I'm like, man, I want something different, man.
Right.
So I started working at when I graduated, I started working at Job Corps as an RA. I was an RA on job. Hey, 06, 03, they know about it. They know, people crazy. Know about my dorm, but I got a chance, man, to work at Job Corps, and I didn't go there as a student. I worked there. And Miss Stone, this lady named Miss Stone, man, I was a kitchen prep. She gave me an opportunity to work on a dorm with the kids because she seen how much I related to the kids. And man, I was young. I was 21. So imagine you Job Corps at that age, that's young. Mm-hmm. So like the CEO over Job Corps was like, man, this man too young to work on the dorm. Like, I'm like, Miss Stone was like, no, he ain't, man. He good with them kids. He mm-hmm. relate. He's doing well. She sent me and gave me an opportunity, man, and I never looked back, man. And I thank her so much for that because it showed me a lot about myself, and it helped me with my identity because, like, I thought I wasn't capable of doing certain things, bro, like, for real. So she gave me that opportunity before I can thrive and have some ownership mm-hmm. and like and a purpose. So on that dorm, I had all the first tape kids. So when you come in the program, and if you living on dorm, you got to come to my dorm. Mm-hmm. So all my kids on my dorm, they taped out. They did great in their classes, man. We had to clean this dorm. Like we used to get, it's called clean as a whistle. We used to get these little trophies and stuff like that for maintaining our dorms. And I was growing with them because like I can relate because a lot of those kids coming to Job Corps coming from the same hardships, man. Mm-hmm. So I understood the journey and I understood what we needed. So I used to push them, man, and I used to grow with them. Like I grew with them, man. And the things that they learned and was working on, I was working on too.
So I think, so I say this too. J-Rock is probably one of few that I know that can express an extreme amount of patience. Yeah. That I do not possess.
It was the journey.
I done had some. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say these things.
Man, say that shit. Hey,
nah. I don't know that. Like,
hey, that'd be all right.
Hey, look.
I feel like, bro, on some real though, bro. You gotta speak it because I think that they.
But I'm saying when it come to our work, so the work that we share.
Yeah, I already know.
Hey, look, man. It would be days, bro, where I'm like, I have patience.
Yeah.
I don't have any patience for anyone that constantly does not help themselves.
Yeah.
And some of our kids, man, that we work with would genuinely every day find a way to not help themselves. J-Rock would exude such patience with them where I'm like, bro, let's put the gloves on. And we done seen this happen a couple of times. You know, we had some kids who was like, oh yeah.
He want to go to their body.
So then we put the gloves on. And I'm like this, ha. I got something for you though. I got to get this out. J-Rock on the other hand, man, why ain't you Keon, bro, I got to figure this out with such and such, bro. And I'm like, how? so I'm like this. I think what that lady said at, what was it? Job Corps. Sometimes, bro, I genuinely believe that there are things that people see in us before we actually see it in ourselves, or even before we actually begin to do the work to make what they said even valid.
Yeah.
So I can believe what she's saying is true.
Yeah.
But others may not believe that until they see me put the work in.
Facts.
So I can vouch for this man has the patience for these kids sometimes where I'm like, no. But I can also say real quick is that we balanced each other out in our workspace.
Facts.
Because of that. It was times where it was like, hey, nah, somebody got to get on him.
Yeah.
I do it. And then it was other times where it's like, hey, J-Rock, I ain't got the patience for this, bro. and he be able to step into that. Bro. However, we work underneath unreal circumstances. And so we had to, get really creative around our work.
I had to learn how to be patient because I had to be patient with myself.
Right.
And it was times where I had all these impulsive thoughts, man, and wanted to do certain things because of my situations. Mm-hmm. It humbled me. So I learned how people respond because they trying to meet their personal needs.
Right.
I may not, understand or even respect some of the decisions people make. But sometimes in life, people make certain decisions to get their needs met based off the things they experience.
Right.
So, like, man, I had to process that because I'm like, man, I used to hit walls and things, and I'm like, man, why I'm keep hitting this wall? I'm like, man, let me come at it at a different angle or perspective. So just my journey just kind of humbled me a little bit with like, because I always was a person to just act out of like my emotions.
Emotions.
Man. Bro, for real, man. Like I used to pop off, boy, when I was.
You say you used to be Lotto.
Like man, but I always was.
Pop it off.
But I was not a pop off guy. Like, but just a pop. But I was a pop off with like morals and values. You would never know. I was a cool guy. I was cool. Everybody
That's
cool
how
guy.
it is, man.
But,
so really quick though, because I wanna get you. to honestly what I think is a key part for you too, along with everything else that you had mentioned.
Yeah.
You had Layla, who's what, 14?
Yeah, she's
14
she's
now.
15.
15.
She's 15.
Your twin.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, spitting image of this man. But she has some of the same kind of personality,
Yeah.
you know, as you do.
Yeah, facts.
Having her at a younger age than most, I would say, because you actually getting to grow with her.
So when I had her, I just graduated high school. When I graduated that December, I found out I was having a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had her, like, man, I was still trying to figure out life, man. I was still like didn't know. So and I felt like I was 18, just fresh, like, man. So I really didn't know how to like really take care of myself, let alone a child.
Yeah.
But I knew what I've been through. And my dad, he created this new life for us, man, with better perspective of things. Like, so I know I got morals of being a father through whatever.
Right.
Like, still got to show up. Like, so from that day, like, I'm like, man, I'm going to do what it takes to, like, show up in a different space and not relive the things that I experienced. Use the things that I've been through as fuel to get to my future. So that's what I did, man. So I had my daughter when I was in the Verge. I was in Job Corps, just going into Job Corps, man. That was my first job as being a father. Worked there for a few years, man, and then I see how well I can connect with the youth, man. Like from the similar experiences, man. I'm like, damn, I do really good with kids. I got patience of a mute. Like it's crazy. I got these patience now. It's crazy. I can relate in different spaces. It's crazy that I'm teaching like older staff at Job Corps, like how to like really connect with our youth, man. And it ain't always that old way of like the approach. Like they got to know something, man. Our experience, our trauma, like in the past, does not equate or go with what these kids are experiencing now. So we always got to be open to change because, you know, life and things that's going on in life is always changing. So I had to understand, like, man, like I know what I wanted when I was a kid, man, when I was young. So how can I, you know, create a space where I'm giving back, man?
Right.
So, yeah, man, did that with Job Corps. Then I started working at Children's Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking food, patient care, man. I was doing patient care, and I was seeing kids, and even in the hospital, struggling, man. I was taking food up to the psych ward, man, seeing kids from where I grew up at, like in the psych wards, and I'm like, man, damn, y'all know. And people labeling them, man, like, and I'm like, man, these kids up here got purpose too, man, like. Right. And I couldn't understand it. Like, man, some of them be locked up. They really not getting the right, like they getting wrong diagnosis, man. They getting put on these meds, like. And I know a couple of them, like, man, they stand up kids. It's just people don't understand them. So, like, working in our hospital, man, seeing people sick, man, seeing kids from like where we grew up, man, like being in these psych wards and stuff like that. I'm like, man, that's a lot, man. And from that space, I transitioned into like working at Lighthouse for a nonprofit, man. And I was a lead youth worker. So I was a lead youth worker and working at Children's and getting kids from the neighborhood, man, in foster care without no sense of like probably getting out of there because they been put into the system and they ain't got no family. Like, so getting into that work. So get into that work, man. Yeah, it was a lot, man. It was a lot. It was a lot. I could keep going on, man. I was almost.
Hey, yeah.
I was about to go on a tantrum, boy.
Hey. No, I think that I think a lot of our story will continue to come out, you know, in this podcast.
What was it for you though? Like, man, tell me, like I was, because I know with our stories, man, we ain't gonna be able to get it out in one day. I think it's actually the product within itself because we gonna reveal a lot about ourselves and constantly.
Right.
So like, man, just the hardship that like we have endured,
right.
and like the our journey, man. What are some of the things you experienced, man, along your journey? What are some things that make the product connect to you?
Man, I said this in our last episode. I stand on this foundation, regardless of what anybody feels. I'm never in a space to judge anybody based on what they do.
Right.
I don't have to love it.
Right.
But I'm not gonna throw you under the bus either.
Yeah.
And so for me, a large part of that stems from, I grew up here in Price Hill. Mm-hmm. I lived in the Fay, English Woods.
Man.
I done lived in Seven Hills, in Ashley Woods. I done lived in Mount Airy. I said Aviston. We done lived in everywhere.
I think I lived all those places too, bro.
I stayed at Aspen Village. My granny at one point. So man, I done lived in a bunch of different spaces. But I think for me, bro, I think there are two massive turning points for my life that I genuinely go back to, and I go, this is what made me be the person that I am, the way that I show up. One was my mom getting sick. So, I was 12, 13, my mom had a stroke, and it was just her and I at home. My mom was my road dog. Now, granted, we had stayed in motels, we stayed in shelters, we stayed with cousins and friends that neighbors that we had just met. When the lights and water and stuff, got turned off, bro, we went and stayed with neighbors that we had just met. We moved on that street. We ain't know them. Yeah. But they opened up their house to allow us to come and shower and, whatever. Yeah. And so it that idea of it takes a village, bro, is what we actually lived in. Man. It was a village of people that really raised us, man. It's still cousins that I got who I'm watching my younger cousins that when I was around, I was maybe 8 or 9. Right. They was babies. I was holding them. And now they older. They 18. They 19. Yeah. But growing up in those spaces, bruh, and moving and watching, my dudes just kind of have to figure out how to take care of us, bruh, was not eye-opening to me until I had to really step up now as an adult and take care of bills and family and all the other things that come with that. But when she had a stroke, bruh, that was a spiral. It was a spiral for me. It was our first house. We had just gotten in Westwood. I went to Midway, made some relationships, with folks there, and thrived. I was thriving. And when she had a stroke, bruh, it sent us she moved into a nursing home for rehabilitation stuff in Cheviot, did that for a while, and then I had stayed home. And I got up every day, went to school every day, never missed a day of school through that process because I couldn't have people coming into the household going, hey, what's going on? I had to figure out a way to go. Man. The rule of thumb, unspoken was you don't talk to anybody that's asking you questions about what's happening in this household. Yeah. Anybody in school ask you about what's happening in this house. Yeah. Not in everything good. Yeah. House just caught fire yesterday though. Our house didn't really catch fire, but you get, what I'm saying, the metaphor there. So, or speaking figuratively. And so for me, it forced me to have to really become independent, bro. It forced me to have to raise myself. And one of the things, I'm going to say this, I don't care. I'm going to say this. When my mom moved back home, there's some folks who don't know what that transition was like for me. I was the only, I got 3 older brothers. They all, doing all the things that they're doing. But when I was at the house, bruh, my Dukes and her boyfriend at the time, she came back home, had all the tendencies of a 1-year-old child. So she couldn't speak properly. She couldn't walk properly. She, some of her body was still paralyzed, all those things. And her boyfriend, when he was home, he was there. Yeah. When he wasn't, though, he was also hustling. So, I couldn't, so all that being said, I was home with her a lot. by myself. There were days where I cooked, I cleaned, I bathed her at 12 or 13. And and so, for me, bruh, I think when people hear me and see me, hear the way I speak, see the way that I respond to things, or the work that I do, the places that I'm in, and the places that I don't share with people no more, they view that as like something wild, something crazy, it's like I've almost betrayed them.
Yeah.
But nobody ever sits back and go, he ain't have no other choice but to figure out how to make what he got going on work. I done came from the same stuff, if not worse.
So how that made you feel, like when you knowing that, like, man, you felt like people really ain't understand like what?
Oh no, I it's frustrating because it frustrates me because I'm like, in order for me to get y'all to understand, I gotta speak a certain vernacular.
Yeah.
Which, apart from this podcast, you and I, we talk a certain way. But we've also had these conversations too, where it's like, I know that our audience isn't just folks that look like us.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to communicate to everybody.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn this art of communication with everybody.
Yeah.
However, man, I go back to, it's frustrating, but I'm also like, I can't put too much time into that.
Yeah.
Like, in trying to make you understand or believe me in what I do. So part of me is like, when I had to deal with all those things with my mom, and my mom had another stroke around the time that Whitney Houston had like her last VMA performance, which permanently hospitalized her. Bro, I stayed everywhere. I stayed with my uncle. I stayed in the house by myself for a couple months. Only people that really helped and showed up for me at that time was some folks who was doing ministry work at Block here in Price Hill.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, it was my uncle, it was my boy Chris, and so I had people, but there was a span of time, bro, where I didn't have no place to go. I was homeless.
How'd that make you feel, though, being like, you got to be on your own, man, taking care of yourself that young?
I was used to it.
Man.
When we was living in these hotels and these motels, bro, it was me and my mom.
Man.
My brothers was already up out of the house. And that was due to mom had rules. Y'all broke the rules. She kicked y'all out. They was figuring out how to live and survive too. They was staying with my uncles at times. So it's like, for me, we was all that we had.
Yeah, man.
So when she had those moments, when we living in motels, bro, and we didn't know where that money was coming from for us to stay an extra night, and you wasn't on good terms with the family, or at that time, I was too young to really know the ins and outs. All I felt at that time was our family ain't showing up, and I don't know that. But I felt the pain that my mom had dealt with when I would watch her sit on the bed and cry and not know we had for dinner, bro, some nights, bro, we had vending machine snacks. Hey, metabolism was high.
Down there eating out to eat, man, every day, some bull,
some Lays,
bro.
And so for me, bro, I mastered being on my own, but also mastered stuffing my feelings. So I didn't give myself time to process, because I always gave myself time to go, I gotta do something. I gotta figure out, I gotta finesse something. I gotta get it somehow. So that's either manipulating some folks to get what I need to get in order to survive for the day, is leaning on some folks, but it was never really leaning on folks for safety. It was never leaning on folks out of pure like goodness of my. No, I needed something. You talked about this. We said this last episode. Is how to get your needs met. Yeah. And I knew how to get my needs met. However, I was a man on the island.
And then like, man, growing up, I could just hearing your story too, bro. Just having to grow up so young, man. When you actually grown up, you be like, man,
It's nuts.
It's nuts and it's exhausting because, man, you felt like, so I can relate to a lot of kids when they're in this space now. They had to endure a lot of things that it's not normal for kids to endure. So you had to be in adult situations. You had to like fend for yourself as an adult, life or death situations. Like, man, so when you going through that type of trauma as a kid for so many years, you condition yourself to resilience, man, that really you turn off your feelings.
Yeah.
Like you turn off your emotions.
Everything is in high gear. The only thing that's not in high gear is I ain't got time to sit anywhere and really cry about this.
You ain't got time to do that.
So I can tell you this. It wasn't so that was my first turning point. My first turning point was my mom having her stroke. My second turning point was when I made the decision to be adopted. That was a big deal. And I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, primarily my biological family, because they couldn't understand why I would do that, or even the idea of like changing my last name.
Yeah.
Well, we about to find out right now. So,
let's get it.
So internally, when this happened, when I was going through this, I was maybe 16, 17. And I remember changing my last name on Facebook, and it was family that I never spent time with growing up, bro. I had everything in the world to say. Had no idea what my life was like, but had every opinion surrounding why I made that decision to even change. And my name wasn't even legally changed yet, bro. I just put it out there.
Yeah.
And it was folks who like had something to say, and I ended up getting all sorts of mail, like messages, bro, from my brothers, from my family, bro. And that was a time for us. That was a really hard time for me, and so I put off wanting to be adopted for a long time, bro, because I felt like I was being disloyal to my family.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I only really had an uncle that really showed up and really supported me in that time where my mom had gotten sick.
Yeah.
It's not that everybody else wasn't supporting me. I didn't always feel it when I would preach and do different things. Like there were family members who showed up in that way and supported me by being present, and I appreciate that. That is something that I never take away from them. However, it was a lot of people who never did anything for me, who had everything to say about a decision that I was making, and it pushed me to postpone something that I knew I needed. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody, somebody is supposed to have family.
You got
family is needed. So
family definitely needed.
I think I landed in this space, bro, for me, where when I made the decision to get adopted, and I ended up getting adopted by folks who were white, I knew what that was gonna bring. They were the only ones who consistently saw me through high school. Through some of the most important times of my life, bro, they saw that time through with me, and showed up. Man, I think I would lean and I would end on this, and I think again we'll continue to share more about parts of our story as this podcast goes on. But I want to leave us in this encouragement. When I was in college, I had a hard time. So my dad was never around. My dad left when I was in second grade. In fact, he came to a parent-teacher conference, Miss Quayle, in third grade. I'll never forget this woman.
He said, never forget this woman.
I did not like her. I'm going to leave it there. I did not like this woman. She said to my dad that I did all these things, which in hindsight, some of it was actually true. But that was by far the worst parent-teacher conference. She had nothing positive to say about me. My dad walked me home to my mom's house, whooped me, and moved to Tennessee. So for me, I'm like this. When I see you,
he said, when I see you,
we don't condone no violence. We don't promote violence on this podcast. But internally, I went through that. When I see you, bro, you really got to see me, because everything that I got, I'm throwing at you. Like not objects, but every ounce of my being.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was in college, bro, I would sit and I'd find myself having like really hard days where I was angry. And my mom being put in a nursing home, not being put in a nursing home, but hospitalized because of her stroke.
Yeah.
The days where I didn't see her were the days where I was like angry. But it was the days that I showed up to see her too. I left that place angry. So it was a lose-lose for me. And so I remember sitting in my dorm room at college, and I was just so upset, bro. I was pissed off, and I was spiraling. And I felt like my mom didn't do what she was supposed to do for me, because I went through a lot, bro, when she had her stroke. I went through a lot. And I felt like she didn't do what she was supposed to do by just being there.
Yeah.
I never thought that way about my dad. I never felt like, oh man, it's my dad's fault that he's not there. I put it on my mom, because my mom was the present parent.
Yeah.
I had to come to terms that like I was never gonna get an apology from this woman. She can't speak. There's nothing that she could say or do that would make me feel like
we didn't got to that.
She's remorseful for what I had to go through. Where I landed at was I always felt like this heavy resentment toward her. And I didn't realize too that there was a lot of resentment in that, because I didn't do the work to be able to process that was unhealthy.
Facts.
So I kind of put this false resentment on her, when the reality of it was I was not willing to face it. And so when it was time to face it, I blamed her.
Yeah.
You can't apologize to me. So now what? Keon, you got to figure this out.
That's tough, bro.
You're not going to get what you're looking for from there.
That's tough.
So what's your backup plan? So I remember sitting there and going, I need counseling.
Said I need to do something.
I need counseling.
Real talk.
So in that part, man, that was probably the place that I'm in now, where we had talked about this before. I don't talk about my mom much,
man,
and there's a reason for that. There's still some unhealed trauma around just that. But lately, there's a time my mom had to go to the hospital or whatever recently, and I sat in that hospital with her, and it's the first time since I was 12 or 13 that I ever communicated this to her. My mom can give you the facial expressions, the emotional response.
So you can kind of...
So you can know what she's feeling. And if she's like really, rocking with what you're saying. Yeah. My mom has knowledge of everything that has happened leading up to this point, or so I think. She definitely knows who we are. Like that none of that changes. This probably was the first time I see my mom in probably about a year and a half. Let that sink in. I'm letting that sink in right now. Damn, man, I said, I knew that. Hey, look, that's crazy. So, damn.
Just
That's crazy.
Man.
That's crazy.
But those stories, man, let me help you out, man.
That's nuts.
But they connect us to our journey, though, bro.
Right.
Like, for real, man. And the reason why we want the world to know that is because it's critical to know how we connect the podcast to what we're talking about, man. And
right. So
your story, bro, is like what we need, bro. So
let me go
ahead, wrap it up for us.
So we go through that.
It's all good, bro.
And I sat there with her, and man, I'm like happy to be there, but this ain't the woman that I know. I don't remember you this way. Everything in me wants to remember you as a woman who had the big, beautiful smile, light up a room, had your moments. But you were human. Not saying this person that's sitting in front of me is not human, but your flaws were human, made you human. And so I sat with her, bro, and I'm sitting there and I'm telling her about the kids, and everything that I'm doing, and everything. And I told her, I said, man, I miss you. Like I miss you. Like, and I've never verbalized that. And I told her, man, I miss just the nurture of our relationship.
Yeah, man.
I can have adopted parents, but there's a nurture that's there
that you yearn for.
That you yearn for, essentially forever. It's like losing a parent.
Yeah.
And then I expressed to her, man, that like I'm upset. Like I'm upset with you, and I need to tell you this. Because I've been harboring these feelings for a really long time.
Yeah.
And, man, her facial expression is something I'll never forget, bro. It's like a person just zoned out and they just begin to process. And she began to cry. And I began to feel bad because I'm like, I want you to sit in this, not in the hospital. I want you to sit in this way. But I don't know I don't know any other way to tell you that that this ain't good for me. Like this, what we had to go through wasn't good for me. Yeah. This right here is good for me. What we had to go through wasn't good for me. So, man, that was a time for me, brother. I had to release a lot of that and say, hey, I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
And
better do that, man.
That was important. So for me, when I tie this bow on this, the work that we do is simply from the experiences that we live.
That we live, man.
When we talk about these kids and what they going through and what they've gotten to experience, it's not just assuming that they've gone through X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's because we've lived parts of their own, like their stories, and we can have similarities in our stories together. On the other side, we're a little bit further ahead in life.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and give you the tools to be able to. I wish that our kids knew that counseling was okay.
And man, it's okay to process it, because I also had to understand, because like what you telling your story about your mom, man, so heartfelt, because me and mom, I was a mama's boy, and me and my mom got distant because I needed that and didn't have her when I needed that motherly love, man, and was going through certain experiences, and I couldn't understand why my mom, she loved her kids so much, but she had her hardships. And it took me till I got older, because I started to resent in certain ways. And the only way I was able to allow my dad back into my life is because of things that he showed. He went through these things and he showed us, we came and got us. He showed us, like, man, lived in this house, lived in this home, lived in this one bedroom. He really like tried to get his stuff together, and he processed along the way. But my mom, she still had her hardship. But what helped me start to like, man, my mom, she loved us. She loved us. But what helped me was understanding my mom had a journey that I did not even understand. My mom went through some things, man. I was able to talk to her. And like you were saying, you expressed that to your mom. And I had to express things that was hard, that I blamed her for, man, and she was able to tell me her journey and the things that she went through, and I didn't even imagine. I'm like, damn, I understand. But then I didn't. But now I can relate, because I understand trauma and the things we go through. And like I go back to when people go through things in life and they start doing things to meet their needs, the people on the other end and not getting those needs met, man, we get the hardness of it, man. Like, so.
Well, it's that now that we have have a stronger support system for us as adults now that our parents didn't have.
Yeah, they didn't.
If
have
they had
that,
a support system
man,
the way that
what?
we do, man, I can't. Hey, Keon, bro, I need you. I'm there, bro. Whatever you need. That kind of support system.
They don't have that communication. They don't have that place of process. Like they don't have that place where you can really process that unknown space, man.
So this is where I go though. The grace that I have to extend to any parent,
man,
is for any of us that are in this, position now, is in our late 20s or early 30s or whatever. The grace to our parents have to be, if you have a solid support system, and you know how hard it is to just be an adult right now,
bro.
Imagine how hard it must have been for them,
man,
when they didn't have what we have
at all,
man,
at all. So, man, that was the hardest part. Like really coming to terms, like, damn, my mom and my dad and my family went through some shit way before. It ain't got nothing to do with me.
Got nothing to do with us.
And that's the hardest thing, and that's what make the work even so much surreal, because we can view out on situations and not judge them as such.
Yeah,
we can look from that perspective, man. Like, man.
So I want to end this off on this last question. What is the legacy that we desire to leave behind?
That's good. Ooh.
You want me to go first?
Do your thing.
All
okay.
Right. I want more so than anything to be remembered as a person that just worked his ass off for people.
Yeah.
To show up for people, to love people, not just people, but family. I want to be a person that when people look at me, man, he worked hard.
Yeah, man.
And even through all of the messiness or whatever, he didn't allow much to hold him back.
Yeah.
So my hope is that when people look at my life when I'm 60, 70, and I die, God willing that I live that long, that people will look at me and go, bro worked. He was a worker.
Yeah.
And he took care of his people.
Yeah,
Not just people that look like us, but any person that ever crossed his path, ever networked with him, that ever needed anything, he was a person that just showed up.
Man.
And that's it, bro. And I want to, from a spiritual standpoint for me too, and I want to see people be able to just go deeper in their faith, and what they believe in. Obviously, for me, like as a Christian, like I want folks to find like a deeper relationship with Jesus. But I also know like God's blessings on my life has been to just take care of people.
Yeah, man.
So that's how I want to. That's what I want my legacy to be.
I love that, man. To follow up with that, man, I want my legacy to be. I didn't let what was created in a way to stop my opportunities in life.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't let, moving around so much, man, living in so many different neighborhoods, going to so many different schools, overcoming so many different obstacles in life. I didn't let that define me. Mm-hmm. I didn't let that, put me in an unknown space of like this domino effect our culture go through, man. Mm-hmm. So I want to be a person that, man, they look at me and be like, man, Gerard, man, he gave it his all. Mm-hmm. And he was a person, man, I wasn't perfect, bro. I had my hard shit, bro. Like a person could say through my journey, if you've been through my journey, if you know, like, man, like Gerard gave it his all. He rode that motherfucker till the wheels fell off. And I gave the world all of me, man. Mm-hmm. And I forgave the world, man, too. Bro, I forgave the world, man. And and I know if more of our people were able to process, man, that deeper trauma, bro, that unknown space, bro, we can we can find that peace, bro. So I'm on this journey, man. You know, I'm connected to the vibration, man, the energy, and like you said, that find your space of recharge, find your space of spirituality, find your space of guidance. And one thing I want to lead us off of, man, the old guy told me, an older guy, he was like, man, hey, when you on your deathbed, you gonna have some regrets. You just don't want too many of them. You gonna have some. You just don't want too many. So, hey, I'm not taking anything I've been through in life. It made me who I am. I use what I've been through as fuel to get to my future. So, hey, my legacy is defining and shaping itself now. So I just want people to know me as a person, man, that gave it his all and was always stand up with it.
That is the pod. That's the product, y'all.
Hey, that's the product, man.
The product.
Hey, we gonna
man, if you don't stop doing that, put that, that man turned into whole Antonio Brown. Hey, man, y'all are now tuned in to another episode of
the
Product Podcast.
Podcast, the product.
Tune in, like, share, comment.
Hey, and we gonna continue to get better with it, man.
Each week, man. And we gonna nail down some of this stuff, man. But we want y'all to know that we appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
This week episode is gonna be a doozy. So
and we want y'all to comment. Hey, if y'all heard something, man, hey, tap in. We're gonna continue on with the conversation. But we need y'all to comment, man.
Yeah.
And share our story, man. Because it's the product.
It's the product. Man, we will see y'all
Appreciate you, brother.
next week.
Appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah. Love.
Peace.